In a bustling city where the skyline cuts sharply against the twilight, the life of a diligent woman named Clara unfolded like the pages of a well-worn book. She found herself navigating the rhythmic monotony of her days, rising early to catch the train, poring over reports at work, and returning home late when the streets were dim and quiet. The world around her seemed to spin in a predictable cycle, and Clara had become comfortable in her routine. Yet, in her heart, there lingered a yearning for something more, something vivid that could break through the gray haze of her existence. On one particularly chilly evening, Clara decided to treat herself. She had passed by an upscale restaurant countless times, its golden glow spilling onto the sidewalk, whispering promises of luxury and exquisite taste. Tonight, she felt bold enough to step inside, craving a moment of indulgence away from her ordinary life. The atmosphere was electric, filled with the low hum of conversations and the clinking of fine china, enveloping her in a cocoon of warmth. Before you skip, just remember channels like this only survive if you hit subscribe. Otherwise, stories like this one just disappear. As she navigated through the elegantly arranged tables, Clara's gaze was drawn to a figure at the far end of the room. He sat alone, his presence commanding attention without uttering a single word. A striking man, with sharp features and an aura of mystery, he exuded confidence that seemed to radiate through the air. His dark hair was perfectly styled, and his tailored suit hugged his physique just right, making him the embodiment of both sophistication and danger. There was something about him, an undercurrent of power that made her heart race and her stomach flutter with an unexpected thrill. Despite the allure of the bustling restaurant, Clara felt rooted in place, as if an invisible string tethered her to the spot. In that moment, time slowed and the rest of the world faded away. She wondered what stories lay behind those piercing blue eyes. Was he a businessman, a wealthy socialite, or something entirely different? Her imagination spun wild tales, yet deep down, she knew she should avoid such distractions. Just as she turned to continue on her way, their eyes met. It was a brief connection, but it sent a jolt through her. She felt exposed under his gaze, as if he could see straight into her soul, unveiling her dreams, fears, and desires. Panic rose within her. She quickly looked away, her heart pounding in her chest as she chided herself for even considering engaging with someone like him. If you're enjoying this story, make sure to subscribe to the channel. This tale is just beginning, and the twists and turns are about to unfold. Clara took a deep breath and made her way to the bar, ordering a glass of red wine in a futile attempt to calm her racing heart. She could still feel the weight of his gaze lingering on her. After a few sips, she glanced back at him, and to her surprise, he was no longer alone. Several men surrounded him, each laughing and toasting, but Clara could still feel the magnetic pull toward him. His laughter, rich and deep, made her wonder what it would be like to share a moment with him, just the two of them. But as quickly as those thoughts surfaced, reality brought her back. He was a stranger, an enigma wrapped in charm, and she was merely an ordinary woman seeking refuge from the mundane. The apprehension bubbled up again, reminding her of her responsibilities and the life she had built, away from danger and intrigue. Just then, she felt a presence beside her. It was the bartender, who smiled at her warmly. "What brings you here tonight?" he asked, noticing her distracted demeanor. Clara shook her head lightly, trying to dispel the thoughts swirling in her mind. "Just needed a break, I guess. Sometimes life gets a little too routine, you know." His knowing smile indicated he understood all too well. "We all need a little excitement sometimes." As Clara sipped her wine, she couldn't help but glance at the man again. He was now watching her with an intensity that left her breathless. It was as if he was assessing her, evaluating if she was worth the risk of his attention. She quickly looked away, her cheeks flushing with heat. The tension in the air was palpable, and she could feel every heartbeat echoing in her ears. The night wore on, and Clara found herself lost in thought, her wine glass empty but her heart full of possibilities. She was caught between the safety of her predictable life and the thrilling allure of the unknown. Just then, the man stood up, making his way toward her. Clara's breath hitched as he approached, the world around her fading into a hushed murmur. He stopped a few feet away, his presence demanding her full attention. "Excuse me," he said, his voice smooth like silk. "I couldn't help but notice you from across the room. May I join you?" Clara's mind raced with a mix of excitement and fear. This was the moment she had been both yearning for and dreading. A part of her wanted to flee, to run away from this encounter that could spin her life in a completely different direction. But another part, the part that had longed for adventure, urged her to stay. With an almost imperceptible nod, she opened the door to what could be a thrilling chapter in her life, unaware of the storm that was brewing just beyond the horizon. As she welcomed him to her table, she could feel her heart pounding, a wild anticipation coursing through her veins. What lay ahead was uncertain, but as she caught the glint in his eyes, Clara sensed that something extraordinary was about to unfold, something that would change everything about her so-called ordinary life. In that moment, she took a leap of faith, a step into the unknown, fully aware that this might be the beginning of a journey that would challenge her in ways she had never imagined. As Clara sat at the bar, swirling her glass of red wine, she reflected on how mundane her life had become. From a distance, she watched couples and groups of friends laughing, enjoying their evening, while she felt as though she were looking in on a scene from outside. The sophisticated ambience of the high-end restaurant, with its dim lighting and soft jazz playing in the background, felt like a world apart from her daily responsibilities and routine. She had been caught in an endless cycle of work, chores, and solitary evenings, and now she found herself yearning for anything more exhilarating. Just then, she noticed the Mafia boss again. He had moved to a nearby table, and even from this distance, his charisma radiated through the room. He was laughing with his entourage, his deep voice resonating amidst the chatter and clinking glasses. Clara felt her heart skip a beat as she caught his eye momentarily. The chemistry between them seemed to spark as their glances met, but just as quickly, she looked away, feeling a rush of uncertainty course through her veins. If you're enjoying this story, make sure to subscribe to the channel. This journey is just getting started, and you won't want to miss what happens next. Clara tried to focus on her drink, but her thoughts were consumed by him. Who was he? What was his story? In her mind, she constructed wild scenarios. Perhaps he was a powerful businessman with dark secrets, or maybe he was a rebel running from the law. Clara shook her head, trying to dispel the thoughts. She was a responsible adult, a woman who had worked hard for her independence. Yet the allure of danger and excitement tugged at her, a siren's call that she found hard to resist. Almost instinctively, she poured herself another glass of wine, hoping the liquid courage would bolster her resolve. She watched as he effortlessly commanded the attention of those around him, his confident posture, the way he leaned back in his chair, unabashedly enjoying the moment. Clara admired the boldness he exuded, wishing she could channel even a fraction of it. "Can I get you another drink?" the bartender asked, pulling her from her reverie. His tone was friendly, and Clara appreciated the warmth, a contrast to the chill of her solitude. "Just a moment," she replied, raising her empty glass. "I'm still working on this one." The bartender nodded and moved on to another patron, leaving Clara alone with her thoughts again. She felt a pang of longing for something outside the ordinary. After all, when was the last time she truly felt alive? The walls she had built around herself began to feel suffocating, and the boldness of the man across the room only intensified her restlessness. She focused on him again, her heart racing as he turned his head, his piercing blue eyes locking onto hers once more. This time, he didn't look away. Instead, there was an unmistakable intensity in his gaze, one that made her feel vulnerable yet exhilarated. Clara's breath caught in her throat. Was he actually interested in her? The thought sent a shiver down her spine. With each passing moment, the tension between them grew thicker, and Clara wrestled with the decision to engage or retreat. She could choose to walk away, to leave this intrigue behind and return to her quiet life, or she could step into the unknown, where danger and excitement awaited. Her pulse quickened as if her body was trying to communicate with her mind. What would it be like to talk to him? To explore the magnetic chemistry that was building between them. But as her heart raced, so too did her fears. What if he was part of a world she had no place in? A world of secrets and shadows, where she could easily lose herself, or worse, lose everything she had worked to build. Just as she was about to convince herself to leave, she felt a shift in the mood of the room as the Mafia boss stood up, his presence commanding attention. He walked directly toward her, leaving his friends behind. Clara's breath quickened. Every step he took felt like a drumbeat echoing her escalating heartbeat. "Is this seat taken?" he asked, looking down at her with an intensity that made her knees weak. There was something in his voice that suggested he was used to getting what he wanted, but Clara couldn't help but feel a rush of excitement at his approach. "No, it's free," she managed to say, her voice barely escaping her lips. He sat down, and the air thickened with unspoken words. Clara's mind raced as she struggled to maintain composure. I'm Clara," she finally introduced herself, her heart pounding as she extended her hand. "Victor," he replied, his grip firm and electrifying. The way he said her name, the way it rolled off his tongue, sent chills down her spine. In that moment, reality faded further into the background. Clara could feel the weight of his attention, and for the first time in a long while, she felt seen, not just as a woman, but as someone worthy of his interest. A silence stretched between them, filled only by the distant sounds of laughter and clinking glasses. Clara knew this was a pivotal moment, one that could lead her down a path she had never considered. Would she embrace this moment, or would she let it slip away? As she looked into Victor's eyes, she could see the depth of his character, the hidden complexities beneath the surface. This was the beginning of something she hadn't dared to dream of, and despite the fear that crept in, excitement surged within her. The life she had known was suddenly dim in comparison to the thrilling possibilities ahead. Clara knew that whatever happened next, she had crossed an invisible threshold into a world filled with uncertainty and allure, and she was ready to see where it would lead her. As Clara and Victor sat together, the atmosphere surrounding them shifted. The initial thrill of their connection was now layered with a feeling of undeniable tension. Victor leaned closer, his voice low and intense. "So, what brings you to a place like this?" The question took Clara by surprise. She could feel the weight of his gaze, and suddenly her mundane life felt starkly out of place in his luxurious world. I just needed a break from my routine," she confessed, trying to sound casual. "It's not often I treat myself." He narrowed his eyes slightly, as if assessing her. "But you deserve more than just breaks, don't you?" A strange flutter danced in her stomach at his words. His confidence was disarming, and she felt herself wanting to share more. "I work a lot. I'm usually caught up in my job trying to make ends meet. It's easy to forget about enjoying life." Victor's expression softened, and for a fleeting moment, the hard edges of his persona seemed to blur. "I understand that. Life can easily become a monotonous cycle if you let it." His voice was smooth, yet there was a gravity to it that intrigued her. Clara stared into his eyes, feeling an unspoken understanding seep between them. Here was a man who seemed to grasp the complexities of existence, yet he thrived in a world so different from hers. "What about you? What makes you happy?" she asked, her curiosity emboldening her. Victor hesitated for a split second, a flicker of something vulnerable crossing his sharp features. "Power," he said simply, but then he seemed to reconsider his words. "No, that's not entirely true. I like control, but more importantly, I like having the freedom to protect those I care about." His admission sent a shiver down Clara's spine. There was an intensity in his words that hinted at a deeper motivation, a shadowy world cloaked in danger. Protecting those you care about, that sounds noble, but isn't it exhausting to carry that weight? A hint of amusement danced in his eyes. "It can be," he replied, his tone shifting, "but I have learned to embrace it. Every choice comes with its costs and benefits." His words hung in the air, heavy with implications. Clara felt an intriguing spark deep within her, as though she had stepped into a web spun with secrets and allure. They were drawing closer together, the distance between them shrinking, yet the gravity of their situation loomed larger than ever. The chatter of the restaurant faded into the background as Clara found herself entangled in Victor's world. Suddenly, she sensed the boundaries of her life blurring, wondering how much she was willing to risk for a taste of his reality. "What's the price of that freedom?" she asked, the question spilling from her lips before she could stop herself. Victor studied her, and an inscrutable grin crept onto his face. "A price you may not be ready to pay, Clara." The gravity of his words echoed in her mind. In that moment, she recognized the peril lurking beneath the surface of their conversation, yet it only heightened her curiosity. "What if I am?" she challenged, her heart racing. Victor's laughter was deep and rich, sending waves of warmth through her. "That's brave, but bravery can lead to foolish decisions. Not everyone who wades into the deep waters of life comes out unscathed." "I know my limitations," she countered, feeling the heat of the moment build around them. Clara was surprised by her boldness. She had never been one to flirt with danger or charm, but something about Victor ignited an adventurous spirit within her. As their conversation unfolded, Clara felt herself drawn in deeper, as if Victor were a magnet pulling her forward. The way he spoke, with such conviction and authority, challenged her preconceived notions of what was possible in her life. She was a woman of routine and safety, yet here she was contemplating stepping into uncharted territory. Their discussion meandered through light topics, but each exchange felt charged with tension. Clara caught herself laughing at his stories, even when the subjects were dark. The way he narrated his experiences made her see the world through a different lens, one painted with shades of danger and excitement that she had never considered before. As the evening progressed, the magic of the moment hung thick in the air, but Clara felt a pang of hesitation. Was she really ready to dive headfirst into a world rife with uncertainty? Victor leaned forward, his elbows resting on the table as he lowered his voice. "You know, Clara, sometimes the things we fear the most are what we need the most." His words resonated with her. "Do you believe that?" she asked, her heart pounding. "Absolutely," he replied, locking his gaze with hers. "Life is about seizing opportunities even if they come wrapped in a layer of fear." Just then, she noticed something in his expression, a flicker of something darker, a hint of a past that colored his present. It was a vulnerability that made her want to reach out and offer him comfort. Yet a part of her hesitated, unsure of whether stepping too close would draw them into dangerous territory. The moment stretched, and Clara felt the weight of their connection. She could see the allure of Victor's world, but the shadows danced around them, whispering reminders of the risks involved. Yet, the thrill of their encounter coaxed her heart into an exciting rhythm. As the conversation continued, Victor's phone buzzed on the table, breaking the spell they were under. He glanced at it, and for the first time she noticed a flicker of annoyance flash across his face. "Excuse me for a moment," he said, his tone suddenly serious. Clara nodded, her heart sinking slightly at the interruption. He picked up the phone, speaking in a low, commanding tone that sent an electric shiver down her spine. She caught fragments of his conversation. "No, I told you I'd handle it." As she listened, uncertainty crept back in. Who was he really? Clara's mind raced with possibilities. She didn't want to back away from this connection, and yet the stakes were high. When he hung up, Victor looked back at her, a flicker of concern shadowing his features. "Sorry about that," he said, his voice softer. "Business can be demanding." "It's okay," she replied, her voice steady despite the whirlwind of thoughts in her mind. "I get it, we all have responsibilities. Maybe we could continue our conversation another time," he suggested, his expression growing serious once more. "Are you suggesting I walk away?" she asked, letting a slight teasing note slip into her tone. His eyes narrowed playfully. "Only if you want to, but I'd prefer it if you stayed." The tension returned, thicker than before. She could feel the pull between them tightening, and despite the uncertainty of their worlds colliding, Clara wanted to explore the depths of what this connection could become. "All right," she said, a smile playing on her lips. "Let's see where this leads." In that moment, Clara realized she was not just stepping into Victor's world. She was reclaiming parts of herself she had lost in the everyday grind. Whatever the future held, she knew she was ready for the adventure, ready to face every challenge and thrill it might bring. And as Victor leaned back in his chair, a satisfied smile spreading across his face, Clara knew this was just the beginning of her journey into uncharted waters, where danger and desire entwined in thrilling unpredictability. As Clara contemplated the whirlwind of emotions swirling within her after that first encounter with Victor, the weight of the world outside began to press in on her again. She had always prided herself on being a woman of strength, yet here she was, feeling vulnerable and exposed in ways she had never imagined. The allure of Victor's world was intoxicating, but it also sent shivers of fear down her spine. She was drawn to him like a moth to a flame, but the risks involved made her pulse race with anxiety. The next few days passed with a strange mix of normalcy and anticipation. Clara went about her routine, her mind often drifting back to the enigmatic man who had not only captured her attention, but also stirred something deep within her. She found herself daydreaming at her desk job, her coworkers' chatter fading into the background as she replayed the moments they shared, the intensity of his gaze still fresh in her mind. One afternoon, as she walked in the park during her lunch break, a sudden commotion broke her reverie. A group of men stood huddled together, their voices elevated and tense. As she approached, the familiar buzz of adrenaline kicked in. Clara's instinct told her to steer clear, but curiosity tugged at her feet. The sight of a familiar figure among them made her heart race. Victor. He was leaning against a tree, arms crossed, exuding a mixture of authority and discomfort. "Let me handle this," she heard him say, his voice low yet commanding. The men nodded, a mix of fear and respect coating their faces. Clara watched, captivated. She had seen that look before, the kind of power that made people hesitate, that demanded attention. This was the man she'd met in the restaurant, but there was a different energy around him now, one that spoke of danger and intensity. Suddenly, a dark-haired man stepped forward, gesturing wildly. "You think you can control everything, Victor? This isn't just business, it's personal." The tension escalated, and Clara felt a chill run down her spine. Part of her wanted to back away, to avoid the chaos brewing before her, but another part, emboldened by the connection they shared, urged her to step closer. "Back off," Victor replied, his voice steady but laced with an undercurrent of warning. Clara could see the muscles in his jaw tighten, the glint in his eye turning fierce. She knew he was involved in something deeper, something that could easily entangle her if she wasn't careful. Her heart raced at the thought of being in a world where conflict was a daily affair. The confrontation seemed to stretch on for what felt like hours, but in reality, it was only a matter of minutes. Victor's commanding presence silenced the men one by one, and eventually the group dispersed, leaving behind a lingering sense of unease. Clara could hardly breathe as she approached him, her anxiety mixing with a thrilling excitement. "What just happened?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady as he turned to face her. He sighed, running a hand through his hair, his demeanor shifting slightly as he acknowledged her presence. "Just a little disagreement," he said nonchalantly, but Clara could sense the weight of his words. "Looks more like a confrontation," she replied, crossing her arms protectively over her chest. "What's going on, Victor? You can't just expect me to believe this is all just business." His expression changed, becoming serious as he leaned in closer, closing the gap between them. "Clara, you need to understand that my world is complicated. I deal with people who don't always play by the rules. I wish I could tell you more, but you don't want to put me at risk," she finished for him, her heart racing. The admission hung in the air, heavy and real. "Exactly," he replied, his eyes piercing into hers. "I'm trying to protect you, but the more I'm drawn to you, the harder it becomes." Her breath caught at his confession. "You think I can't handle it?" "It's not about that," he said, frustration bubbling just beneath the surface. "This life is dangerous, Clara. I can't let you get hurt because of my choices." "Then don't shut me out," she insisted, feeling a surge of determination. "If you're going to involve me in your life, I deserve to know the truth." He opened his mouth to respond, but before he could speak, a low rumble of laughter interrupted them from across the park. Clara turned to see the dark-haired man from before walking towards them, a smirk etched across his face. "Victor, I didn't realize you had company," he said mockingly, stealing a glance at Clara. "Is this the brave woman you were telling us about?" Victor's jaw clenched, and Clara felt the air shift around them. "Stay out of this, Mikhail," he warned, his voice low and dangerous. Mikhail shrugged, amusement dancing in his eyes. "Just saying she seems a bit out of her depth, doesn't she?" Clara felt her cheeks heat with indignation. "I can handle myself just fine," she shot back at Mikhail, surprised by her own boldness. Victor's eyes softened as he looked at her, pride mixing with concern. You shouldn't have to deal with this, Clara. It's not your fight, but it is now, she stated firmly, feeling the rush of adrenaline coursing through her veins. If I'm going to be part of your life, I'm in this with you. The tension between them thickened, and Clara could see the wheels turning in Victor's mind. He was weighing her words, considering her determination against the dangers that lay ahead. Fine, he finally said, his voice a low rumble. But if you choose this path, you need to understand the stakes. Then help me understand, she urged, her heart pounding with an intoxicating mix of fear and excitement. I want to know you, all of you. Victor hesitated, then nodded, his resolve firming. All right, but it won't be easy. There will be threats, and my past won't just go away. I'm ready, Clara replied, surprising even herself with the certainty in her voice. As they stood there, the world around them faded away, leaving only the two of them poised at the edge of a dangerous and thrilling new chapter in their lives. She was no longer the woman who walked away without looking back. She was ready to leap into the unknown, and Victor was willing to guide her through the storm. After that moment of clarity, Clara felt a surge of hope and excitement. She knew the challenges ahead would be immense, but she also felt that Victor's presence would anchor her as they navigated this treacherous landscape together. Their connection was undeniable, and she was eager to explore what it truly meant to be a part of his world. As they turned to leave the park, Clara felt a new resolve blooming within her. She was ready to embrace the chaos, ready to dive into a life filled with both danger and passion. The adventure had only just begun, and she was determined to face it head-on, hand in hand with Victor, no matter what awaited them in the shadows. The atmosphere crackled with tension as Clara stood in the middle of the dimly lit warehouse, heart racing, adrenaline coursing through her veins. The confrontation with Victor had shifted everything between them, transforming uncertainty into an undeniable spark. She could feel the weight of his gaze, a mix of pride and concern as he faced her, ready to protect her from the impending storm. Clara, Victor began, his voice steady yet intense, this is not just about us anymore. There are consequences to every choice we make, and I need you to understand that. He stepped closer, their eyes locking. You have to decide if you truly want this life. Clara's mind was racing. The stakes had never felt higher, yet deep inside she felt an incredible sense of clarity. I do want to be with you, Victor, she affirmed, her voice unwavering. But it's not just about you protecting me. I want to fight alongside you. I can't sit on the sidelines. A flicker of surprise crossed his face, quickly replaced with admiration. You really are something else, aren't you? But this isn't a game. It's my world, and it can get ugly. It might get ugly, Clara replied, grounding herself. But I've dealt with my own challenges. I'm not afraid of what's to come. Her heart felt heavy with the weight of her own past, memories of loss and struggle that had shaped her resilience. She had overcome so much, and in that moment she was ready to embrace the chaos that lay before them. Victor's expression softened, revealing a glimpse of vulnerability beneath his stoic exterior. You don't know what you're asking for. My past, it haunts me. I've made enemies, and they won't hesitate to use you against me. She took a deep breath, feeling the gravity of his words. I understand, but I refuse to let your past dictate our future. Together, we can face whatever comes. Their tension filled the air like a charged storm, both thrilling and dangerous. Victor studied her, weighing her resolve against the risks ahead. All right, he finally said, his voice low and serious. But if you're going to be part of this, there are things you need to know. Things I never wanted to reveal. Then tell me, Clara urged, her heart racing with both fear and excitement. I'm ready to hear it. He nodded, his brows furrowing as he prepared to divulge the secrets that had shadowed him for so long. My family has been in this world for generations. We have ties to powerful people and dangerous rivals. I'm not just a businessman, I'm a target. Why didn't you tell me before? She pressed, feeling a surge of frustration mixed with understanding. Because I wanted to keep you safe, he admitted, his voice dropping to a whisper. I didn't want to pull you into this darkness. Clara stepped closer, her determination unwavering. I can handle it, Victor. I know it's risky, but we face this together. Just as he was about to respond, the sudden sound of footsteps echoed from the shadows, breaking their intimate moment. Clara's heart raced as she turned to see a group of men emerging, their eyes glinting with malice. Victor immediately shifted into protector mode, positioning himself between her and the intruders. "Who are you?" one of the men sneered, a smirk curling on his lips. "Stay behind me, Clara," Victor instructed, his voice low and commanding. "Doesn't look like she's listening, Victor," another man taunted. "Looks like she wants to play with fire." Clara's heart pounded in her chest as she sensed the danger escalating. "I'm not afraid of you," she declared, stepping forward to stand beside Victor, her resolve stronger than ever. "Brave girl," the first man chuckled. "But bravery doesn't save you here. Get out of here while you still can," Victor warned, his voice firm. "This is your only chance." "Like hell we will," the leader spat, taking a step closer. "We're here for a reason, and we're not leaving without what we came for." Clara could see Victor's demeanor shift, his icy composure masking a storm of emotions. "You don't want to do this," he said, his tone dangerously calm. "Walk away now, or I can't guarantee your safety." "Is that a threat?" The man laughed, clearly underestimating Victor's capabilities. "No, it's a promise," Victor replied, and Clara could feel the tension crackling in the air. In that moment, Clara realized just how much she had stepped into a world filled with peril. But she also understood that she was not going to back down. With Victor beside her, she felt a fierce determination brewing within her. "We're stronger together," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the rising tension. "Together," Victor echoed, meeting her eyes with an intensity that sent shivers down her spine. The men advanced, but Clara refused to budge, her heart pounding as she stood firm. She could feel the adrenaline surging, a mix of fear and excitement intertwining. "We can do this," she whispered to Victor, her eyes filled with fire. "All right," he replied, his jaw set in determination. "On three. On three," Clara repeated, feeling a rush of adrenaline course through her veins. The moment Victor shouted "now," they sprang into action, their movements synchronized, a testament to their emerging partnership. Clara knew this was just the beginning, but she felt a fierce sense of purpose ignite within her as they faced the chaos together. As they navigated the chaos, one thing became clear. Clara was no longer the woman who walked away without looking back. She was ready for the fight that awaited her, ready to embrace the dangers of Victor's world. And with every heartbeat, a new chapter of their story was about to unfold. If you're enjoying this story, make sure to subscribe to the channel. The adventure was just beginning, and Clara was ready to dive headfirst into a life filled with love, danger, and uncharted territory. As the dust began to settle from the chaos of the confrontation, Clara and Victor stood side by side, their hearts racing, but their resolve stronger than ever. The menacing figures that had threatened them were gone, leaving behind a heavy silence, punctuated only by the distant hum of city life. Clara felt the weight of a new reality settle upon her, one that was intertwined with Victor's world. It was a realm filled with danger and intrigue, and she had just taken her first steps into it. "You were incredible back there," Clara said, turning to Victor, her eyes sparkling with adrenaline. "I can't believe I didn't back down." Victor looked at her, a mixture of admiration and concern etched on his face. "You have no idea how dangerous this is, Clara. You were brave, but bravery can lead to recklessness." "Recklessness?" she echoed, a hint of defiance in her tone. "I'm not going to hide away when I can stand by your side. I chose to be here." He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture of both frustration and affection. "You're incredible, but I can't have you getting hurt. I won't allow it." Clara's heart swelled at the protectiveness in his voice. It made her feel cherished, but it also ignited a stubborn flame within her. "I don't want to be protected like some fragile thing. I want to face this together. I'm not afraid." "Fear is what keeps us alive," Victor replied, his voice low yet intense. "You need to understand that. Or maybe it's what can hold us back," Clara challenged, stepping closer, their faces mere inches apart. "We can't let fear dictate our choices. We can't live in shadows forever." Victor searched her eyes, his expression softening. "You're right. But this isn't just about us. There are consequences to every decision we make. I don't want you to bear them." Clara felt a pang of sympathy for him. She could see the weight of his burdens, the shadows of his past creeping into the light of their present. "We'll face the consequences together. I'm not backing down." Not now. Their gazes locked in an unspoken agreement, solidifying the bond they had forged so quickly. It was thrilling and terrifying all at once, as if they were standing at the precipice of something monumental. "All right," Victor said, his voice steadying. "But if we're in this together, we need to be open. There are things you need to know about my world." "Then tell me," Clara urged, her heart racing with anticipation. "I want to be part of this, Victor. I want to understand." He took a deep breath, his eyes darkening with the weight of memories. "I wasn't always the man you see. There's a history filled with loss and betrayal. Trust doesn't come easily to me." Clara reached out, brushing her fingers against his forearm. "You don't have to carry it alone. I'm here for you." Victor exhaled slowly, his guard beginning to lower as he opened up to her. "I grew up in a world where loyalty is everything, but loyalty can be twisted into a weapon. Those who betray you can turn your life into a nightmare. I can't even begin to imagine how that feels," Clara replied softly, her heart aching for him. "But I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to be your ally." A flicker of hope danced in Victor's eyes, but it quickly faded, replaced by the ever-present shadows of his past. "You say that now, but what if the darkness comes for you? What if it seeks to destroy everything in its path?" Clara stood tall, unwavering. "Then I'll fight back, just as you did tonight, just as we both did." Victor's expression softened, and a small, reluctant smile crept onto his lips. "You really are something else, aren't you? Just someone who refuses to run away," she said, her tone playful yet earnest. "We need to find a way to navigate this together. We need to establish boundaries and understand what we're up against." "Boundaries are a luxury I'm not used to," he confessed, his voice tinged with bitterness. "In my world, they're often blurred, but I want to try for you." Clara felt a warmth flood her chest. She wasn't just an outsider anymore. She was becoming a vital part of something much larger than herself. "We can make this work, Victor. I believe in us." As they stood there, the night enveloping them in its embrace, Clara knew they were on the brink of something extraordinary. The danger still lingered, but so did the promise of adventure, love, and the thrill of the unknown. "Let's take it one step at a time," she suggested, her voice steady. "Together." Victor nodded, a newfound determination flashing in his eyes. "Together," he confirmed, and in that moment, Clara felt an unbreakable bond form between them. If you're enjoying this story, make sure to subscribe to the channel. The journey was far from over, and Clara was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, hand in hand with Victor, the enigmatic man who had already changed her life so profoundly. They would fight for their love and for a future that was finally within reach. As the night deepened, Clara and Victor found themselves enveloped in a tangible silence, the world around them fading away. The streets were illuminated by the soft glow of streetlights, casting long shadows that danced along the pavement. Clara's heart raced as she processed the weight of Victor's words. The promise of a future felt both exhilarating and daunting. "Do you ever think about what tomorrow holds?" Clara asked, her voice barely above a whisper. She looked up at Victor, whose intense gaze seemed to pierce through the darkness. His presence was a mixture of warmth and danger, making her feel alive in ways she had never imagined. "Every day," he replied, his tone serious. "But I try not to focus too much on it. It's the moments we create now that matter most." His eyes held hers, and she saw a myriad of emotions swirling within them, fear, desire, and an unwavering determination. Clara nodded slowly, contemplating the truth in his words. "Moments," she echoed, thinking back to their stolen glances and fleeting touches. Each encounter was marked by an electric tension, a connection that pulled her closer to him despite the risks. "But what about the consequences? What if this all goes wrong?" Victor stepped closer, his breath warm against her cheek. "Life is about risks, Clara. Every choice we make shapes our path. You've taken a risk by standing here with me tonight, and I admire your courage." His voice was low, dominated by a sense of urgency that made her heart flutter. "I don't want to be just another moment for you, Victor. I want to be a part of your life," she insisted, feeling a surge of determination. The adrenaline coursing through her veins urged her to be bold. This was no longer just a game of attraction. It was about forging a bond that could withstand the storms ahead. Victor's expression softened. "And I want you to be part of mine, but you must understand the world I come from." He took a step back, creating space as if he needed to put distance between the intensity of their emotions and the reality that loomed over them. Clara's heart sank slightly at the distance, but she remained resolute. "I want to understand, Victor. I want to know everything. The good, the bad, all of it." She took a deep breath, gathering her courage. "I'm tired of living in fear of the unknown. I'd rather face it head-on with you than walk away." His gaze turned contemplative, and Clara could see the internal struggle written across his face. "You have no idea what you're asking for," he warned gently. "This life is filled with shadows that can engulf anyone who dares to step too close." "I'm not afraid of the shadows," she replied firmly, her voice steady. "I've faced my own demons, and I emerged stronger because of them. You can't push me away." A silent moment passed as Victor took in her words, the weight of her resolve hanging in the air. "You don't realize how rare that is," he finally said, admiration lacing his tone. "I've been alone for so long, and the thought of letting someone in is terrifying, but with you, it feels different." Clara felt her heart swell at his confession. "Then let's take this leap together," she urged, feeling a sense of purpose. "Let's find a way to navigate this world to build something real. I believe we can be stronger together." Victor's expression shifted, a flicker of hope igniting in his eyes. "You're incredibly brave, Clara, but I need to know you're committed to this. There's no turning back once we cross that line." "I wouldn't have it any other way," she replied, a fierce determination burning within her. "I'm all in, Victor." Their eyes locked, and in that moment an unspoken understanding passed between them, a promise of loyalty that transcended words. Then, out of nowhere, the tension in the atmosphere shifted. Clara felt an unsettling sensation creeping up her spine. It was a reminder that their reality was anything but safe. "What is it?" she asked, sensing Victor's sudden tension. "Stay close," he warned, scanning their surroundings. The seriousness in his voice sent a shiver down her spine. Whatever danger loomed was now creeping closer, and she could feel the urgency in Victor's movements as he placed himself protectively in front of her. "What's happening?" Clara's heart raced as she instinctively stepped closer to him, seeking comfort in his presence. "There are eyes on us," he replied, his voice low and steady. "I need you to trust me." The intensity of his gaze pierced through the darkness, assuring her that he would do everything in his power to protect her. Clara nodded, fear mingling with exhilaration. This was the moment she had chosen. This was her reality now. "I trust you," she whispered, her voice barely audible as her heart pounded in anticipation of what was unfolding. Victor reached for her hand, their fingers intertwining as he began to lead her away from the streetlights and into the shadows. "We need to move quickly," he urged, his grip firm yet gentle. She could feel the strength in his hands, and it gave her the courage to follow him into the unknown. As they slipped into the alleyway, Clara couldn't help but feel a rush of adrenaline. This was the life she had craved, full of excitement and danger. She glanced back at Victor, an unspoken promise igniting between them. "If you're enjoying this story, make sure to subscribe to the channel." Clara's heart raced at the prospect of the adventures that lay ahead as she stepped into Victor's world, ready to face whatever awaited them together. In that moment, she realized that she had chosen her path, and she would never look back.